Hi, it's the first Health Writing Wednesday of the new year. So happy new year and thanks for hanging out with me this evening. Sometimes the opportunities that you are most hesitant about can end up being the most transformative for you. And I have encountered that reality, learned that lesson on quite a few occasions. But the one that I want to chat with you about today is my drug information fellowship, and in particular, the academia portion of that fellowship. Now, I've talked before about how after graduating from pharmacy school back in 2015, I chose to do a drug information industry fellowship, and that was designed to be a 2 year fellowship across three different rotation sites. So there was an academia portion, and also during that academia portion, my practice site was at a hospital drug information center. There was also an industry portion where I was in a medical information department at Janssen Scientific Affairs. And then there was also a drug information component within a public health setting that was the FDA in the Division of Drug Information. And we have talked before about how I had a unique experience going through that fellowship process because I got pregnant during that 2 year span, and only completed the academia rotation and a portion of the industry rotation. With all that being said, and my husband is doing some things in the house in the background, so you're going to hear things in the background. It's okay. It's fine. Um, as I was going into that fellowship experience, I will be honest that one of the key reasons I chose that particular fellowship is because since I could not land the CDC opportunity that I was looking for at the time after graduation, I felt like being in an opportunity or taking on an opportunity to engage in public health through a different agency, the FDA, would be like the next best option. So I was excited about the public health FDA portion. I was excited about the industry portion. I was not so enthusiastic about the academia part of that experience. I will admit that upfront. I'll be the first to say it. I've said it before. My former preceptor knows. We've talked about it. Was not super excited about it because it's not an experience that I really had in the past, and it's not something that I considered to be a goal of mine in the future. But I knew it would be helpful as a learning experience. So I was just treating it kind of like, I'm not head over heels about it, but I know I'll learn something from it. In that academia portion, I had a few responsibilities because I can't remember if I was an associate professor or an assistant professor. Technically, it's in my LinkedIn profile, so whatever that says. But some of the responsibilities that I had were to provide the primary professor for the course, which was a drug information and literature evaluation course for second year pharmacy students. That was a course that I was primarily that I was assigned to. My responsibilities included giving feedback on the curriculum to the primary professor. Um, and like that's not the technical term, primary professor, but I can't remember what the appropriate term is right now. I also was responsible for preparing and conducting a few lectures myself. So I might have done about 3 or 4 lectures during that particular semester. I attended office hours and supported students who came to office hours with any issues or questions that they had. I, of course, graded lots of assignments, many of which were writing-based assignments, and provided feedback on those. So I had a lot of different responsibilities as a component of that rotation, and I enjoyed most of them a lot more than I thought I would, particularly preparing and conducting lectures. I was incredibly nervous, don't get me wrong, but it felt like the first opportunity that I ever had to kind of exercise that skill. I think that's why I was nervous about it. But as I was doing it, it felt natural and it felt comfortable, and I felt like I was really engaging with the audience. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but some of the realizations that I had were that one, I loved the lecturing process. I loved that engagement. I loved being able to see the wheels turning and clicking and things kind of making sense in students' minds while I was talking with them. I really appreciated that I was able to kind of experiment with that. Again, lecturing is not something that I had done before, but because I had the opportunity to do it then, I was able to kind of figure out what my teaching style is, what my communication style is as a lecturer, how I engage with students that I'm talking to, that I'm speaking with or lecturing to. I realized the importance of student feedback. I was so nervous to get the survey results from students when they were able to talk about their experiences in the class and with each of the professors. My student feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and that also kind of gave me, kind of affirmed, right, the confidence that I had. Um, in those particular times that I was delivering the lectures, I learned how important it is to have an intentional and clear curriculum. Again, the course is drug information and literature evaluation. There's plenty of ways that a course like that can be delivered. And so by having a set curriculum with clear steps, clear goals, clear objectives, clear assignments that align to those goals and objectives, that seeing the behind the scenes and how that all worked was incredibly valuable for me. And then, of course, I learned the importance of mentorship, or I should say, I continued to learn the importance of mentorship, especially, well, as a student. Of course, that's something that I already knew, but being able to be on the other side of that relationship and be a mentor to students, that was, I think, probably my first time having that type of relationship with students, and I really saw how important that is from the other side of it. So each of these realizations that I had was incredibly valuable because I didn't know at the time that I would end up coming back to teaching later in my career. Now, of course, the teaching that I do now through the Health Professionals to Health Writers Accelerator and now through Future Medical Writer, which if you signed up for the workshop, then you kind of know what's going on behind the scenes of that. But the teaching that I'm doing now is very different, right, than being a professor. But it's not that different, right? The setting is different. The mechanisms of delivery are different. But a lot of those realizations that I just talked about, having the importance of student feedback, the importance of intentional curriculum development, the importance of mentorship, understanding my teaching style, all of those things, that is core to what I do now in my business of helping more health professionals become health content writers, and teaching more health professionals about medical and health writing opportunities. I don't know that I would have had the same ability to develop these types of programs and to execute these types of programs if I hadn't had that experience during my drug information fellowship. And so I really think engrossing myself in that academia setting for those 6 months kind of shifted the trajectory of my professional journey, because I might have mentioned this before, but for a long time, people have been asking me to teach them, to mentor them, to like help them figure out how to do what I did in starting my health content writing business. And I kept saying no because I don't know how to teach that, right? Like I know what I did. I don't know how to teach you to do what I did. For years, I said that. And that wasn't true. I just had not uncovered what I eventually uncovered, which is that I did already have that skill set because of my experience in the academia portion of that drug information rotation. And once I started like digging in the digging in the crates and pulling out all of that mental knowledge that I had but maybe forgot or hadn't used in a while. Once I started doing that, I realized, this is something in my wheelhouse. This is a part of my expertise that I was able to hone in a very professional setting, right? I was teaching real students who needed to pass this class, and in order to get their degrees. So I just wanted to share with you, one, a reminder that sometimes those opportunities that like you're not as excited about, treating those as learning experiences nonetheless is going to be helpful. And even if you're not using whatever you learned in the moment, it always comes back full circle, right? It's something that might be useful now, might be useful, like in my case, 5 years from then, maybe 10, 20, 30 years from then. So keeping your eyes peeled for those kinds of opportunities. If you learned anything from me in any capacity, I would love for you to share what has been the most helpful for you. So I talked about how much I value student feedback. I also value feedback from people who are not my students. If you've ever inquired about like any of my programs and we had a conversation, chances are I probably asked you for some feedback as well. So now I'm asking everyone, right, whoever's listening to this, whether it's live or on the replay, if you've ever learned anything from me in any capacity, particularly around medical or health writing, I would love to share what aspect of that learning experience was most helpful for you. And then if you haven't learned anything from me, then one, I encourage you to stick around so that I can teach you something. But if you haven't learned anything from me, share some qualities or characteristics that you've noticed in the people that you learn best from. I am very interested to see those results. So as always, you can comment wait list in the comments if you are interested in being on the wait list for the next round of Health Professionals to Health Writers. Enrollment is a ways away, but as you know, applications open up to people who are on the wait list first. So you can always comment the word wait list in the comments of these Health Writing Wednesdays videos, and I'll be able to get you an information packet and more information about enrollment.